open your eyes. Just watch. Just watch. This guy ain't stopping anybody. But he is amazing offensively.
You feel like Sacramento or Memphis has any chance to catch the Nuggets for the 1 seed? They're 4.5 up on Sacramento right now. I don't feel like Denver's going to totally free fall. They have a good cushion. Maybe that's part of why Jokic is taking it easy on defense, but that's not going to help you in the MVP conversation.
One of the things I've thought, and I know their defensive metrics are they're bad, right? They're bad. Their offense is great. Their defense is bad. When you get to the playoffs, they're going to be able to target that. They really don't have defenders, Kevin. I mean, I'm saying in front of him. Sometimes you could, however good or bad he is on defense, it gets exposed to the highest degree because they don't have a bunch of guys that are like fighting through screens and staying with their man.
Jamal Murray,
super active defensively.
Yeah.
But Porter Jr.'s lame.
Porter's been better than before, but like Jamal Murray's a real weak spot right now.
Like the fighter is Brown. Like he's the one that he fights.
The tough part is you put Bruce Brown out there, and then you have, granted his numbers are solid from 3. He's a low volume shooter who does not garner, great respect from the defense. So
right.
if you bring him out there, yes, you're helping your defense, but you're hurting offensive spacing.
Right. So even if they're like switching with some of those guys, like there's this, you're not switching on to, there's no great matchups for them defensively. And so when you don't have a guard that's like going through screens and slithering by and staying on their man and refuses to get, screened off of them, like you are leaving him exposed all the time. And teams just, he is not a good defender. I don't give a damn what any metric says. Those defensive metrics, if you find a defensive metric that tells
Hogwash.
you that Jokic is a good defender, urinate on it and throw it in the fire.
Yeah.
Because just open your eyes. Just watch. Just watch. This guy ain't stopping anybody. But he is amazing offensively.
I say hogwash. You say urinate on it.
Yeah. Whatever. Same difference. We're getting to the same point. Those defensive metrics are goofy.
I know they are. They really are.
All you have to do is watch.
Some of them are so terrible. Like it's almost laughable. It really is.
I mean, it feels like
it's misinformation is what it is. Like I think
exactly what it is. It's misinformation.
Some of these defensive metrics I think do more harm than good, and they just should not be utilized at all because they turn people off to actually valuable metrics in terms of assessing the game. Offensive metrics I think can have great value, but the defensive stuff is ridiculous. It's just the data's not good enough. It's just not.
And what people have done is they've put both together to act as if there's some super number.
Yeah.
That shows all encompassing. I've thrown together Raptor and Craptor and Slaptor and all
Dude, I've had NBA analytics people tell me over the years, I've said, hey, with like tracking data, have you guys been able to put together, valuable defensive numbers? And pretty consistently, like I'm sure some people might be hiding partial truths, but for the most part, like the smartest analytics people I've talked to say, I mean, defense is so hard to look at with any individual number. It's so much about process versus results. You can't really look at numbers, and even if you're using tracking data, it still doesn't necessarily tell you the full story of what's happening. Whereas with offense, it's a lot easier to put together valuable numbers to assess the game. But for defense, it's far more difficult. And maybe that'll change. They have XY coordinates right now. The league is doing stuff with, new technology to add a Z coordinate, tracking of arms and limbs and all that. Maybe you can figure out some data for the quality of a contested shot. Maybe there's other ways to innovate defensive data, but as of now, most NBA people I talk to just don't find a lot of value in defensive data, even the advanced camera tracking stuff. Never mind, the stuff that we have publicly.
And that's what's so impressive, honestly, about Jokic is that what What we can value is a lot of the offensive numbers, and he's off the charts.
He's all-timer.
And that's why they've got the number one record. That's why they've got the number one seed, because he's so damn good offensively.
To be clear, number one record in the West. Bucks have the number one record in the league.
Right, but I mean, this guy, like, the reason they're number one in the Western Conference is because they're so good offensively. And they're so good offensively because of him. So, yeah, he's got some he's not a great two-way player. He is a amazing one-way player, but I do think so much focus went on to the layup line that teams can run on them and their defense as a whole. They're gonna, if they lose in the playoffs, there will be the discussion about having to flank him with good defenders.
Yeah.
Because they're light on those. You don't have anybody that you consider like, hey, throw him on that guy and that guy's not getting a bucket tonight. Or this guy's going to have an off night. This guy's going to have a problem. That's not on that team. And I do think that when he's the guy in the back, that it might serve them well to have maybe even a little more size, with as much as he plays not down next to the basket. And they've run Gordon at the dunker spot, and Gordon's been fantastic. But I'm just saying, like, the kind of fly around guy that is a great help defender might be the best type of thing next to him. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Teams are going to have to game plan against them, and they're going to put them in those 1-5 pick and rolls every time down the court. We'll see if they can hold up.
You think the Nuggets can make the finals?
Of course.
You think, would you put their chances ahead of, Kings? Yes.
Yes.
Grizzlies?
Yes.
Ahead of the Grizzlies? How about ahead of the Suns?
Yes, right now.
Clippers?
Yes.
Okay, so you think they're the favorite in the West, the Nuggets?
Yeah, I think you have to. When they're getting to play at home, they've got the best player in the conference, and they've got a ton of playoff scars. I think it's unfair to bet against them.
Okay.
Would I bet against them if you get a bad matchup? Of course, I could see them losing. But, they're going to get a Game 7 in their place if it gets to that point. That's not an easy place to play. They'll have home court advantage, and they got the best player. So there's none of those teams, though, Kevin. Every one of those teams you mentioned have questions. So if I said the Kings, guess what? The Kings are terrible defensively, too. And you think it's going to get any better when somebody game plans against it? The offense is going to get harder to execute, and the defense gets more exposed. It's the way it goes. But if I've got a team that's been through a lot of playoff series and I got the best player, of course they have a chance. I do think it's open. I don't consider them some kind of massive favorite. And I could see scenarios for sure where they lose, just like I could see there's not a team you can name that I feel great about saying that's the team that will represent the West.